Social Security is being cut. Does that make you afraid? Today, we're going to be talking about exactly what it means on Friends Talk Financial Planning. Hi, I'm Bridget Sullivan Ramel. I've got a fee-only financial planning practice in Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm John Shearer. I've got a fee-only financial planning practice in Middleton, Wisconsin. Joining us today is special guest Denny Heywood. Denny runs Social Security Solutions. He's a great resource for both Bridget and I in our practices. And we're excited to hear him talk about his decades of experience working with Social Security and working directly with people to help them understand these issues. Denny, thanks so much for being here today.
You're welcome, John. Good to be here.
Right. Hey, before we jump into this, Denny, maybe just give a little bit of background on your history with Social Security, working both for the government and as a consultant, and then and just let people know why you know so much about this area of the world.
Thanks, John. Well, yes, I spent my career with Social Security for 30 years, and retired and started consulting with financial planners, estate planning attorneys. Anybody that really would need my services or want my services. And I did that from about 2007 to the present. What I do, I sit down with individuals and go over mainly their Social Security retirement benefits, who's eligible for what and when, and kind of patch it into their lives. But currently I'm very busy. I get a lot of referrals, and thank you. And it's a pleasure. I do help with disability within individuals and other various subjects to do with Social Security, but it's mainly those two: retirement, survivor, and disability I consult on.
Great. So, Denny, the news says that Social Security is being cut. And I was worried about it too, until I dug a little deeper. So why don't you talk about when it says Social Security is being cut, when that's what's on the news,
Okay.
what's the reality behind that?
The reality is currently that Congress has to do something to preserve the trust funds. There's nothing in the Congress, no bill or anything that's going to cut Social Security. The president can't cut Social Security, and he wouldn't do it anyway. You have full-scale riots out there. But if they don't do something to preserve the trust funds in the future, by like 2032, there could be a problem. There's not enough money in there to pay people. But I think they will do something. They can do several things to preserve the trust funds, raise the tax base a bunch, have people people are living longer. You can't take your benefit at 62, take it at 65. That's the earliest you can take it. They will take care of the problem. And there's nothing current going on to take any benefits away from anybody anywhere.
So Denny, there's a difference between cuts to Social Security and cuts to Social Security benefits. So that's the distinction that I don't think that people are getting when they read about it in the news, that there's no plans to cut benefits. And the most recent thing they did was increase benefits, which we have a whole nother video about, for a certain group of people who were getting less benefits before. Okay. So there's no plans to cut benefits. Is that correct?
That's right. There's no plan to cut it. Actually, there's a non-plan if they don't do something to preserve the trust funds. But there's nothing out there right now.
Yeah, long term, there needs to be changes.
Right. Long term, I think they will take care of the trust funds. They're going to protect.
When they talk about cuts, it sounds like they're talking about cuts to the administrative side of Social Security. So exactly. What do you know about that?
Well, I know what I've heard, and you can read it sometimes on the website, but they are going to close some offices that, are functionally not profitable, okay, quote unquote. With maybe 8 people working in a small building, they'll put them with a bigger office somewhere else. there's no plans to shut down Social Security. In fact, they're doing a pretty good job at trying to get more people into the servicing end of it, taking claims, answering phones. From what I've understood, that new commissioner that's coming on and Ludek, who's there right now, have done an incredible job. They did let about 7,000 people go, but most of these people were higher echelon, people that were in a service capacity that might not have been so necessary. But at the local level, Social Security has always been understaffed. Understand that. That's why you got long waiting lines when you go in. Automation did that. But there's no plan to cut anybody right now, to shut down any major offices for Social Security to go out of business.
When you talk, Denny, about the local, the local offices and getting in, I think that's one of the things that's concerning to folks. As you said, it's been hard for years to, how do you get help when you need it? Do you have any tips for folks and on the previous episode that Bridget mentioned, where you were our guest, talking about, hey, if you work for a government and have a pension, you need to talk to Social Security. What does a person do to get an appointment that's not, 18 months from now, sort of a thing?
Well, that's a good question. But what I tell people is this: there are multiple teleservice centers throughout the country. And if you have to call Social Security, you would call one of those, and then somebody would answer your question. And people get put on hold and get dropped. So let's look smart about this. They're East Coast to West Coast. If I was wanting to call Social Security, I'd want to call when all the offices are open taking phone calls. 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. But if you call at 7 a.m., you've only got the East Coast open. Mm-hmm. So what I would do is I would call between 11 and 4. Okay. Now every teleservice center is open. I would not call on a Monday, and don't call on a day after a holiday. That's busiest time of the work.
Yeah.
And to make an appointment, John, to answer your question, they may not have an appointment available, and they say, we'll call you back. And usually they do call you back, but I would just call throughout the week, because you can bump into a cancellation, bingo, and you're in. That's how I'd handle it.
That's great.
So long term, like we know that, at some point in the 2030s, in the next decade, Social Security is going to run out of money. And gee whiz, that's right around when I'm going to be taking it. What do you think they're going to do? Like, what are the solutions?
We're going to raise the tax base a bunch. Okay.
And so what does that mean?
That means, well, right now, the maximum Social Security taxable each year from someone working from a job or self-employment is $176,100. That's the maximum tax. I would say that they're going to kick that up to $500,000 to $1 million. And that'll
tax the rich. That's always popular. Okay.
Right.
Like the rich. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, they could
might have a donut too. Like they'll keep out some people, but then the people that are over 500,
Right.
Taxing,
it's like Medicare. Everything's taxable on Medicare right now.
Okay.
But they could do that too. That would preserve the trust funds. But they will do something, and as long as Congress has the power to tax, and they do, Social Security will be here, I feel.
Well, another thing you mentioned before the episode was that they could say, okay, if you're born after 1980, 1985, then your retirement age is, the first year you can get benefits is not 62, but which it would be now, it would be some other age.
Maybe 65, right.
Okay.
Right. I mean, people are living longer, Mm-hmm. The medical health, people are healthier longer. Right. And I think that's one of the things they could do. All right. They could eliminate some provisions like the 8% through age 70. They could eliminate that. That's a possibility. But, to guess what they're going to do, I would say the two things: raise the retirement age, and they're going to raise that tax base a bunch, bring in more.
It seems like the last time they did it, and this was, I think, during the Reagan era. So we're talking, the last time they did major changes was a long time ago, that's exactly what they did. And it's like they try to figure out who is not going to complain. All right, people born after people who don't even really are thinking about retirement would not complain. And then with the income part, who is like they're the least amount of sympathy for? Okay, the people who are earning over $175,000 a year, so they can play around with those things. And so last time I felt like it was a lot of drama and the solutions were pretty much the easiest solutions that could be to go down. Does that make sense? So cutting benefits to current people who are getting it would be rioting, right? And there would be sympathetic people rioting. Everybody's sympathetic to, older people, right?
Or seniors will come after them.
Yeah. So, and because, one of the things that I've read is that I don't know, some percentage, like 25% of the people who have Social Security, that's their main source of income when they're retired. And it might even be more than 25%. So it would gut the economy because they all use that money and spend it all, so it's not, that's going to happen. And
they've never done anything really to affect current beneficiaries. 2015, there were some amendments that eliminated some things you could do, file and restrict, but they've never done anything to affect a current beneficiary, like reduce the check by any means.
Except for, now giving people more.
Right.
Increasing. Right. So it's really been increasing, not reducing, as far as
a lot of what's going on right now, to be honest with you, is some fear mongering by the media, and that is not putting people in a good place. And I just would tell people, rest assured, you're not going to get cut. They may
Thank you so much, Denny.
They may do changes for later, for as people age and what you can and can't do, but they're not going to take money away from current beneficiaries.
Right.
And that's the thing I think people are scared about, right? They hear this news, you see the headline, and then what do you do? And I really appreciate you sharing with our audience your literally decades of experience. You've been in this, you're in the trenches on a daily basis, and it's not just somebody saying, hey, don't worry about it. Like, no, this is some real experience. Really grateful for your input here today. And I'll just remind viewers that check the show notes, Social Security Solutions. You can reach out to Denny. He's been invaluable in helping my clients, and I know Bridget's as well, make good decisions and dig through some of that nonsense and get to the real things with Social Security. And with that, it's a great place to wrap things up here. Again, I'm John Shearer, and I run a fee-only financial planning practice in Middleton, Wisconsin.
I'm Bridget Sullivan-Mermel. I've got a fee-only financial planning practice in Chicago, Illinois. John and I are both proud members of the Alliance of Comprehensive Planners. If you're looking, we're both taking clients, but if you're looking for an advisor in your area, check out acplanners.org. And we want to thank Denny again for being our guest today. It's wonderful to have you. And don't forget to subscribe.
Thank you.